Negative 3 times one number plus 5 times another number is negative 11. 3 times the first number plus 7 times the other number is negative 1. Find the numbers. Since we have two different numbers here and we are therefore going to need two different variables, this is what tells us that we have to have a system of equations. So the first thing we'll do is define our variables. And this is going to be really simple. We're just going to have the first number and the second number. So I don't want to use f and s for my variables just because my s's sometimes look like fives. So I'm going to do f as my variable for the first number. Um, and let's do e. Oh no, I better not use e because that's an actual number in math. Let's do c for the second number. If your handwriting is better than mine, you can use S for the second number, but my S's always look like fives and I end up getting mixed up. So let's go ahead and see if we can first turn these two sentences into our two equations. We know we're going to need two equations because we have two variables. So the only way you can solve for two variables is by having at least two equations. So we need two equations. The first sentence looks like it's going to give us the first one. It says negative 3 times one number plus 5 times another number is negative 11. So one number, that's going to be our first number, is f. And another number, that's going to be our second number, that's going to be c. So negative 3 times the first number will be negative 3 times f plus, and then 5 times the other number, so 5 times c is negative 11. Okay, that seems good. And then let's look at our second sentence. It says 3 times the first number. So there's our first number, 3 times the first number, so 3 times f, plus 7 times the other number is c, so plus 7 times the other number is negative 1. Okay, so once we get the two equations written, it seems clear that elimination is going to be the best method to solve this. And the reason I say that is because if we look at the coefficients on our f, we can see that the coefficients for f are a negative 3 and a positive 3, which means if I were to just add these equations straight down, the f's would be eliminated. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add our equations. Negative 3f plus 3f is 0. 5 plus 7 is 12, so 12c equals, and then negative 11 plus negative 1 is negative 12. And boy, that's really nice. Using the division property of equality, we get that c is negative 1. That's handy, that it's a whole number. It's always nice when we come out with a whole number. So c equals negative 1. Great. So now I know that the second number was negative 1. I need to go figure out the first number. And I can find that by plugging the negative 1, substituting the negative 1, into either of those two equations that I wrote. Seems like the second equation is going to be the easier of the two. It's got a little easier numbers to work with because the coefficient of the f is positive instead of negative, and it equals negative 1 instead of negative 11. So the second equation just seems like it's going to be easier to work with. If I plug this into the first equation, just because I wanted a higher degree of difficulty, I would, of course, still get the same answer. It doesn't matter which one I substitute into, but if I can choose, I'm going to choose the easier one. So we've got 7 times negative 1, which is going to give us negative 7, so we can write plus negative 7 or just minus 7. And now we're 2 steps away from the answer. Let's use the addition property of equality to add 7 on both sides. Okay, so that's going to give us 3f equals 6. And then we'll divide both sides by 3 using the division property of equality. And that's going to give us f equals 2. So our numbers are -1 and 2. And I think that's all the question asked was find the numbers. So we just say the numbers are -1 and 2. And that's all there is to it. Write the equations, use elimination to find one of the values of a variable, and then once we have that value, substitute back into one of the equations to find the other value of the variable.